Chapter 1. Hey Dad, called Susie as she came in and dumped her backpack. Hi sweetie, how was college? Replied John from the kitchen. It was fine, just the usual. Susie was noncommittal as ever. We're all 17-year-old girls like this, thought John. That's good then, John tried, and failed, to keep the sarcasm out of his voice. And how was work? Susie asked, ignoring the sarcasm. It was fine, just the usual. John mimicked his daughter. Ha bloody ha. Anyway, can I stay over at Lucy's on Saturday night? Of course. Who else is going to be there? Just the usual gang. That's fine, just don't get up to anything too crazy. When do we ever? Thanks Dad, right, better get my homework done before dinner. Susie grabbed a drink and headed up to her room. Good lass, I'll shout you when it's ready. John had been a single parent to Susie since she was 4 years old when her mother ran off to Brazil to save the rainforest with Federico. Neither of them had heard from her since, but they had coped just fine. Susie had made good friends with Lucy, Paula and Rhonda when she started school, and they had been firm friends ever since. Coincidentally, they all came from single-parent families too, and all their mothers had been very supportive of and helpful to John as he brought Susie up, particularly as she got older and started to go through puberty. Aside from his job as care assistant, all John's time was focused on his daughter, meaning that even at just 38 he had very little of a social life. The girls' mothers would probably be considered his closest friends, although he rarely did anything with them outside of anything involving the girls. But they were both happy and life was comfortable. Chapter 2. John was in the supermarket grabbing a few bits when he felt a tap on his shoulder. He spun round to find Mary, Lucy's mom. Hey John, how's things? She asked with a smile. Oh hi Mary. Good thanks, just stocking up on a few bits. How's things with you? John inquired. Not bad thanks. I'm just getting a few bits in for the girls tomorrow night. Of course, thanks for having them. It's never a problem. They're all good girls, as you know, so it's really no trouble. Besides, we're just gonna leave them to it and have ourselves a mom's night out. You don't mind me giving the girls free rein? No, of course not, it's fine. John knew they would be just fine. Enjoy your night out too. I'm sure we will. Do you have plans? You could always join us if you like. Mary offered the invitation, as she always did, but she knew John would decline it. No plans, I'll probably just chill in front of the TV. Thanks for the offer, as ever, but it's okay. I'd only cramp your style. You don't want me hanging around on your girls' night out. John, honestly we would not mind. You are our friend, but we'd love you to join us so we can get to know you better more socially. The girls have been friends for over a decade, for God's sake. I know all that, and of course we are all friends as well as the girls. I just don't think I would be totally comfortable being the only guy in the group. Maybe next time though, for something a bit more casual. I can respect that. Have a relaxing night then, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you, enjoy yourselves. John resumed his shopping, leaving Mary disappointed. She liked John and thought he needed more of a social life before he was left alone when Susie headed off to university. She resolved that when she got home she would get up into her loft and find her grandmother's grimier. Surely there would be something in there to help her, although it had been years since she had used it. Chapter 3. Beep 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 beep. John half woke and reached out to turn his alarm off. It was Saturday morning and he had no plans, so decided to ignore it and sleep on a bit more. He eventually got up a couple of hours later, mainly because he was busting for the loo. He knew Susie would have gone into town, her usual Saturday routine shopping trip, so he wasn't bothered about heading to the bathroom in just the boxer shorts he slept in. He rolled out of bed somewhat groggily and had to brush his hair out of his eyes. Guess I need a haircut, he thought. Maybe I should head to town later and get it sorted. As he headed across the hall he felt his boxers slipping down and grasped the waistband to pull them back up while he walked. Have I lost weight, or has the elastic gone in this pair? He wondered. He got in the bathroom, threw the boxers off and into the hamper and sat on the toilet, relaxed, and carried out his ablutions. After wiping his ass, John stood and turned to shake his penis of the last few drips of pee. This was when he passed out on the bathroom floor. An indeterminate amount of time later, John came around. At first, he had no idea where he was or why he was staring at his bathroom ceiling. Slowly, the memory returned and John's breathing quickened as the panic washed over him. He tentatively reached up and got hold of the sink to pull himself up, faltering only as he spied the red, manicured nails on each of his hands. Once on his feet, he had to keep a firm grip to prevent himself collapsing back to the floor. What the F is happening was the only thought going through John's mind as he looked in the mirror. What he saw looking back at him was beyond his comprehension. In the place of his slightly flabby, 6-foot frame with his bearded face and medium-length blonde hair was, well, a woman. Long brown hair, slim, smooth-skinned, but with stretch marks around the stomach, with the aforementioned red nails, both fingers and toes, average-sized breasts, not quite pert but with big brown areolae, and a patch of dark hair above where John knew his penis should be, but he would now find a vagina if he plucked up the courage to explore. Looking closely at his face, John decided he still recognized himself, just a now distinctly female version of himself. Slowly, but surely, John touched his face to confirm it was real. He moved onto his breasts, now realizing the weight that was now pulling on his chest. A tweak of his nipples sent a wave of feeling through his body, determining that they were indeed real. Ever more slowly, he moved his right hand down between his legs. He found what he expected. The feeling of the damp folds of a truly female set of genitals. His index finger found his clitoris and the feeling would have caused his knees to buckle if he continued. It was all too much though, and he stopped himself. He took a deep breath, pulled on his robe which felt rough and scratchy against his new skin and headed to his bedroom to retrieve his phone. He didn't know who to contact, but he clearly needed some help. Chapter 4. Mary reread the message for a third time. Hello, it's John. Can you please come round? I'm having an emergency and need help. I don't know what else to do. It was unusual enough for John to text her about anything other than the girls, let alone in such a formal and seemingly panicked tone. A wave of guilt washed over her. She had indeed consulted her grandmother's grimoire and used it to concoct a spell to enable John to feel more comfortable spending time with the moms in their group. What if something had gone wrong and she had damaged him in some way? She hadn't dabbled in magic for a long time, since her grandmother had passed in fact. She had been shown her gift by the old woman when she was just a teenager but had always had her grandmother there to help and guide her. Lucy would have the gift too, all the females in their family did, but she had not explained that to her daughter, yet. Mary didn't feel her daughter needed that pressure before she started university next year. Sure would have to go see her friend and face up to whatever she had done, and just hope she could find a spell to fix it if needed. I'll be there in 10. Sit tight and don't worry. I'm sure I can help, whatever it is. She replied to the text, grabbed her car keys and got round to John's house as quickly as the speed limit would allow. Mary knocked on the door for a third time without a response from inside, the nervousness she was feeling rising all the time. She tried the handle and found the door unlocked. She stepped inside and called out John. John, it's Mary, are you okay? I'm upstairs, came the reply, hoarse, strained and strangely high-pitched. It was followed by John clearly trying to clear his throat in the bedroom. This addition was even higher-pitched and tinged with panic. Mary made her way up the stairs and to John's closed bedroom door. She knocked gently and turned the handle, easing her way into the room. John, what's going on? Come in. Mary was confused now. That was definitely a female voice, who was here with John already. Once in the room, she took in the scene and was thoroughly baffled. All she saw was a crying woman, around the same age as herself, sat on John's bed, naked about from a navy blue flannel robe. Excuse me, but where is John? She asked. The woman looked up at Mary and wiped the back of her hand across her running nose and streaming eyes. I'm right here, the stranger said, almost incredulously. Mary had to stifle a laugh. I'm sorry, but what? It's me. The woman stood and crossed the few paces across the room to meet Mary face to face. They would have been the same height but for Mary's heels. Mary looked intently down into the upset, drawn face of the woman in front of her. The realization dawned on her as she looked at the blue eyes. They were unmistakably the eyes of her, once male, friend. "John, it really is you," she stammered. "It is." John started crying again and reached to Mary for a hug, burying his head in his friend's shoulder. Mary guided her friend back so they were sat side by side on the bed. Once John composed himself, he recounted the tale of his morning. Mary could only sit dumbfounded at the fact her magic had clearly turned John into a female version of himself. John finished his story and looked at Mary, waiting for her response. Chapter 5. The only thing Mary could think to say was sorry. John looked at her and blinked back the last of his tears. There were none left to cry. "What?" "I'm sorry. But I think this is my fault," Mary squeaked. John could feel the anger rising within him. "What?" he yelled. "You did this?" Mary was taken aback by the venom in his voice, but really she shouldn't have been surprised when she thought about it. "No, yes, no, well yes I think so, but not on purpose. I never meant for you to become a woman." John was hot now, but still confused. "What? How did this even happen? Why would you do this? Change me back, I'm a man, damn it." Mary tried her best to answer calmly, but was unable to make eye contact with John. "It's magic. My family are witches and I have the power too. I used my grandmother's spell book to try and make you more comfortable spending tonight with us ladies. I just wanted to give you more confidence, not change you like this." John took this in. He knew magic existed in the world, but his life had never been touched by it, until now. He believed his friend would not have wanted to harm him intentionally and doubtless had his best interests at heart. But that didn't change the fact that he wanted his own body back, and now. "Can you undo this? Please tell me you can," he asked. "I don't know. We can look through the grimoire and try and find a reversal spell. But what?" John asked, panicking again. "But I made the spell only for 24 hours, I just wanted you to join us tonight," Mary confessed. "So, I'll change back tomorrow anyway." "Yes. Fine, but I want to change back now please, so can we look at this magic book and get me sorted?" "Of course. It's at home, let's go straight there." John looked down at himself in just the robe. "Can't you bring it here?" "No. It has to stay in the house where I know it is safe. It is too powerful to get into the wrong hands." John scoffed at this. "Because it does so well in the right hands. I deserve that. It's been a while since I used magic and clearly I got something mixed up. But still, we have to go to the book, so you better put some clothes on." John stood and pulled some clothes out of his drawer. He started to pull off his robe before pausing and turning back to Mary. "Ahem, if you don't mind." "Oh, don't be a prude, it's not like you've got anything I've not seen before, at least not now," Mary giggled. John bristled but relented and dropped the robe. Mary surveyed her accidental handiwork. "That's interesting." "What is?" John asked as he put on his boxers and jogging bottoms. "The stretch marks. The spell was designed to make you comfortable with us, so I think it's made you into a mom yourself. They look like you've given birth yourself." John ran his hand over the marks on his body. In doing so he let go of his clothes and they dropped back to the floor. "Damn it. I don't think they're going to fit. You're much smaller and slimmer now." "Wait here, I've got an idea." Mary walked out of the room, leaving John to put his robe back on and wait. Chapter 6. A few minutes later, Mary returned with a bundle of clothes in her arms. She handed them to John. "These should work for now, as a temporary fix anyway." John looked at the materials in his hands. They were unfamiliar garments, pastel colors and soft materials. "Where did you get these?" he asked. "I took the liberty of borrowing them from Susie's room," Mary confessed. "I can't wear my daughter's clothes." John was outraged. "That's just too weird. They're just clothes and they are the only things likely to fit you. Think of it like this, plenty of moms and daughters share clothes," Mary teased. "I am not a mom, I am her father," John huffed. "Right now you look more like a mom, and if you don't want to go out naked, get these on." Okay, John relented, "at least it's only for a short time until to reverse this." Mary didn't respond to that comment, mainly because she didn't know if she could reverse it before the 24 hours are up. John, meanwhile, started to get dressed. The pink panties fit just like briefs, and despite the lace edging they were not too strange. The socks also were okay. The black leggings were another matter. The stretch meant they fit, but he found he had to wiggle to get them over his ass, and this caused his breasts to jiggle uncomfortably. Oh my god, how do you get anything done with these things swaying around? Mary laughed. You need a good bra, dear, that will support them and help your back. Sadly, I don't think any of Susie's will fit. You're a good bigger up top than her. Thank God I don't have to deal with them all the time, John said as he slipped on one of his daughter's green tank tops, noticing that it offered no support as Mary had just mentioned. He subconsciously checked out his ass in the mirror and thought the leggings made it look good. What was that about, he wondered. There, they fit okay, let's get going, Mary broke his reverie. They headed downstairs and John was forced to borrow Susie's sneakers. Mary grabbed a bobble and put his hair in a quick ponytail. Much better, she said. You look a bit more put together now, that will help you attract less attention. John grabbed his phone, wallet and keys and they headed out to Mary's car. Damn, John exclaimed as he realized he had nowhere to put his stuff. What's up now? I have no pockets. Just hold them for now. You should have a handbag, us girls have to cope without pockets regularly. Fine, John grunted as he pulled on his seatbelt, settling the strap comfortably between his breasts. John noted that he was quickly learning a lot about the other side of life. Thank God it would be over soon though. Chapter 7. Mary made sure Lucy was not home before leading John up to her bedroom. She sat down at her dresser where an old leather-bound volume sat. John stood behind her, looking over her shoulder. Mary flipped through the book, settling on a page which John could see was written in some ancient language, which he guessed was Latin. Tucked inside this page was a similar sheet written in Mary's own hand. Okay, this is what I used last night. It's a spell designed for giving a person confidence in any given situation. I simply adapted it to give you confidence to join us on a night out. And the fact that it is a mom's night out means the spell has tried to give me the confidence of a mom to join you. That would seem to be what has happened, Mary confessed as she reread both pages to find out what had gone wrong. So can you undo it please? John pleaded. Bear with me, I'm looking for the reversal pages. Mary was turning to the back of the grimoire. Shit. What? John leaned over to look at whatever had caused Mary's outburst and found himself looking at what were very obviously a series of torn-out pages. The pages are missing, they've been torn out. Mary had a distant memory of her grandmother burning these pages a decade ago but couldn't recall why. So what? So I'm sorry, but you're stuck that until tomorrow morning when the 24 hours is up. John slumped down so he was sat on the end of Mary's bed. Okay then. Take me home and then I can hole up until that happens. If that is what you want, I will. Why don't I get you a drink first? You look like you could do with one. That actually sounds good, said John. Great, you head down and I'll join you after I've put this away safe. Mary gestured to the grimoire. John went downstairs and Mary reread her spell. Shit, she said again, this time under her breath. She would deal with that tomorrow. Right now she had her friend's confidence to promote. Mary found John in her kitchen. What can I get you? She asked. You got any lager? John asked. I'm sure there's a couple here somewhere. Mary opened the fridge. She found a bottle and opened it for John. She poured herself a glass of white wine. Ugh. John pulled a face. What is wrong with this beer? Mary took the bottle from John and examined it. Should be fine, it's well in date, I only bought it last week. It tastes all wrong to me. John felt he knew what he was talking about. Lager was basically the only alcoholic drink he had ever drunk. Mary had an idea. Here, try this, she said while handing him her wine. John pulled another face. Wine, really? I never drink wine. Just try it, Mary pressured as she poured herself another glass. John tentatively held the glass to his lips and took a small sip. He swirled the liquid round his mouth. Not bad, he exclaimed and took a larger mouthful. Excellent. Cheers. The two chinked glasses and Mary led the way to the lounge. She sat on one end of the sofa and John took his place at the other end. Mary noticed that John sat down rather demurely, with his legs crossed at the ankles. Chapter 8. Hi Mom. Hi Lucy, Mary called back as her daughter came in and dumped her bags at the bottom of the stairs. How was shopping? Fine, got a few bits. Lucy had made her way into the lounge. Now that's good. This is my friend, Joan. Mary pulled the female name from nowhere. Nice to meet you, said Lucy. You too, mumbled an embarrassed John. Made an early start have we? Laughed Lucy as she eyed up her mom's glass. And why not? Besides, we've only had 2 glasses so far. Mary winked at John. Whatever. I'm gonna grab something to head and put my shopping away. And with that Lucy was out of the room. Well, that was awkward, said John. Where did Joan come from? I don't know, it just came to me. Another glass? Asked Mary, brandishing the bottle. No thanks, I'd like to get home now, said John, draining the last of his wine. Are you sure? You seem a bit more relaxed now. I thought you might like to have a drink with Diane and Claire when they get here. Let them see the new you before you turn back. She tried to press her friend. No thanks. It's bad enough you and now Lucy have seen me like this. I just want to hide away and forget about this. Okay then. I guess I'll see you next week then. Mary stood to show John out. John froze. What do you mean? I can't walk home like this. What if I see someone I know? You drove me here, remember? I do remember, but I've had a drink now, I'm afraid. Mary showed her empty glass. Plus, no one will know you as anything other than a middle-aged woman, so what does it matter if you know them? That might be true, but I'd still be self-conscious. Okay, then stay here where you are with people you know and can feel safe. John's confidence marginally grew at that idea. Fine, he relented. I could do with another drink then. Excellent. Mary was already filling the glasses. Then we can get changed. Eh? Well, I'm not going out like this, and you could do with something smarter to fit in when the others get here. Don't worry, my clothes will fit better than Susie's, so you'll have plenty of choice. Sounds great, said John, glugging down his fresh glass. Another bottle had been opened and the 2 of them were back in Mary's bedroom. Try on anything you like, I'm going to get a quick shower. Mary opened her drawers and wardrobe, then headed into her ensuite bathroom and left John looking round at his friend's dresser and wardrobe. At first he was embarrassed. He had been friends with Mary for a long time now, and though that was all, he had to admit he did not exactly find her unattractive. To be standing in her room about to rummage through her underwear and clothes was somewhat disconcerting. He started in her underwear drawer. Most of the panties were what he expected, brief types and shorts in feminine colors in cotton and lace. He also found some sexier options including thongs and G-strings. He pulled a couple of these out and imagined what it would be like to wear these. He decided they might be a bit uncomfortable, so put them back. He settled on a pair of black lace boy shorts, deeming them similar to boxer shorts. He stripped off Susie's clothes, folded them neatly and placed them on Mary's bed. He slipped the panties up his leg and settled them in place, enjoying the soft feeling of the lace and how they hugged his ass and nude genitals. John opened the next drawer and found Mary's bras and lingerie. He marveled at some of the sexier items and held up a few of the teddies and corsets against his new body to see what they might look like. He liked what he saw but decided to play it safe and found a bra to match his panties. He was just starting to work out how to put it on when Mary came back in, wrapped in a towel. He glanced at her but strangely found no desire to eye her nearly nude body. How are you getting on? Mary asked as she came past John to pick out her own panties for the night. John noticed she had picked out a red thong and Mary spotted his quizzical glance. A girl likes to feel sexy sometimes, especially on a big night out, she told him as she dropped the towel and put the thong on. That makes sense, and I think I'm doing just fine, John said. It looks like it, nice choice. Mary indicated the panties. How's the fit? Pretty good. Yeah, I thought we looked a similar size. Mary had chosen her own red bra and was putting it on. John watched her and did the same, putting his arms in, positioning the cups over his breasts and reaching behind to fasten the clasps. He found that surprisingly easy for his first time wearing such a garment. He also felt more comfortable than he had all day with the weight of his breasts now supported. "That feels so much better," he exclaimed. "Ha, you bet it does, dear. Now let's choose our outfits." Mary was excited and practically skipped to her wardrobe. "What about this?" Mary was holding a blue dress against John and posing him in front of the mirror. "I guess it's nice, but no dress. That feels a step too far for the moment." John held his ground. Mary threw the dress onto the discarded pile on the bed. "What about a skirt?" Mary held up a leather mini skirt. "No, how is that different? And do you seriously wear that? It's so short." "Yes, I do. I'm not that old, you know. Sorry, I didn't mean to imply anything." Well, I'm going to wear this." Mary was showing John a low-cut red dress which came to just below the knee. "You have a look for something while I get dressed." John stood in front of the wardrobe and looked for some trousers. They would feel much safer and more like his own clothes. Mary put on a pair of tights and stepped into her dress. John had just taken out a pair of dark blue, high-waisted jeans when Mary spoke behind him. "A little help?" John turned and realized what was needed. He zipped up Mary's dress while she held her hair up out of the way. Mary spun round and saw the jeans. "A great choice. They will make your hips and butt look great." John smiled at this thought as he pulled the jeans on. The legs were tighter than he was used to and, once fastened, they felt like a second skin. He liked the feeling, unlike his own baggy clothes. "Now you just need a top," Mary pointed out. John picked out a few options and looked to his friend for advice. "Definitely that one." Mary was pointing to a black blouse with full-length ruched sleeves. John put it on and admired the cleavage he was displaying. "I like it," said John. Mary was excited by John's increasing confidence in his new body. He was complaining less and less about what had happened and seemed to be embracing becoming one of the moms. She hoped it would continue. "Mom, the girls are here," Lucy called up the stairs. Mary stuck her head out the door. "Okay, dear. You girls take the lounge. Tell Diane and Claire there's wine in the fridge. They can wait in the kitchen while me and Joan just finish getting ready." Diane and Claire sat down with a glass of wine and looked at each other with one identical thought. "Who's Joan?" Chapter 9. "Okay, just lipstick to do and you're all set," said Mary. She was sat next to John at her dresser and had him copying her to put on makeup. John had struggled at first, but as the process went on he started to get the hang of it. John twisted the lipstick so it came up out of the tube, just as Mary was doing. He was getting used to the unfamiliarity of the products he had put on his face and had stopped complaining about the effort needed to get ready after Mary pointed out it was something all women had to go through. He slowly applied the bright red shade to his lips, taking great care not to make a mistake. He marveled at himself in the mirror. He looked stunning compared to earlier. "Wow, it's amazing how a little makeup can transform me," he enthused. "That and a little magic," laughed Mary. "Ha ha, true enough," John agreed. "Now are we ready at last?" "Almost, just 2 more things." Mary had gone back to her wardrobe and was searching in the bottom. She came up with 2 pairs of heeled shoes in her hands, one red and one black. She put the red ones on herself and handed the black pair to John. "Put these on while I sort the last thing." John examined the shoes. They were black pumps with a thick, 2-inch heel. John stayed sat and slipped the shoes on his feet, a perfect fit. He told Mary, "That's good. Here, I've put everything you might need, including your phone, wallet and keys." She handed John a black handbag. "Do I really need this? These jeans have pockets, you know," an exasperated John huffed. "They do, but you won't fit everything in. They are tight to show off your body, not for practicality, I'm afraid," Mary pointed out. "Now come on, Dee and Claire are waiting for us." John stood to follow Mary downstairs and almost instantly crashed onto the bed, then the floor. "Whoa, what happened?" he cried. Mary laughed. "Oh dear, I forgot you're new to heels. Let me help you up." Mary gave John a hand to pull himself up and helped steady him on his feet. "Now, small steps, heel to toe, that's it, you're getting it." John felt like Bambi on ice to begin with. With Mary's support, physical as well as emotional, he quickly was able to keep himself upright, but it was taking a lot of concentration. Mary guided John carefully down the stairs, but when they reached the bottom he was able to confidently follow her through to the kitchen. "Hi ladies," Mary called and hugged both Diane and Claire. John hung back shyly by the door. "Claire, I'd like you to meet Joan." John stepped forward nervously and offered his hand to his other friends to shake. "Nice to see you," he stammered. "Hello, how do you know Mary?" said Diane. "Have we met?" asked Claire. Mary just laughed as John was lost for words at how to answer these questions. Well, if it hadn't been for the makeup he would have looked pale as a ghost and he felt he may faint with embarrassment. "Let me help," said Mary eventually, coming to stand by John and link her arm in his to keep him upright. "You have met and we know each other because Joan has a daughter at school with our girls." Now it was Diane and Claire's turn to be embarrassed. "Oh my, I'm sorry I can't recall you, how terrible of me," muttered Claire. "Who is your daughter?" was the best Diane could think to say. "Susie," said John as Mary giggled next to him, waiting for the inevitable reaction. It took a moment. "What?" the two women cried in unison. John simply nodded. Claire stood, walked up to John and examined his face closely. "Oh my God, John? You look fantastic. But how? Why? Is it really you, John?" asked Diane. "Yes, I am John. And I need a drink while Mary can explain." John topped up all 4 wine glasses while the other moms sat round the kitchen counter. John joined them as Mary was telling her tale. As she explained, the story was punctuated by Claire and Diane staring at John at regular intervals and examining his new body. "So how does it feel?" asked Diane when Mary had got them caught up. "I was terrified at first, as you can imagine. I had no idea what was happening to me. I certainly had never had any thoughts of wanting anything like this. Eventually, after Mary had told me what happened, I calmed down." John tried his best to explain. "You seem very at ease," said Claire. "I think the spell is helping John with that," explained Mary. "After all, it is designed to improve his confidence. I've seen it growing all afternoon." John blushed at this. "I suppose that's true, I've felt it myself." "That's super," said Claire. "We've been waiting for you to join us properly for a night out for ages. I never thought this would be how we'd manage it though." "Who cares how?" laughed Diane. "Let's just enjoy our mom's night out." She raised her glass and Claire joined her in a toast. "Here, here," said Mary as she clinked the 2 raised glasses. "To us moms," cheered John as he joined in. The 4 women laughed and drained their glasses. Chapter 10. Right girls, taxi's here, Mary called as she checked her phone. "Woo!" cried Claire as she stumbled off the kitchen stool. John stood and picked up his handbag, the others taking note of the confident, female mannerisms he was displaying. "You look great by the way, John," Joan. "Sorry. I love those shoes," Diane whispered to him as they prepared to head into town. "Thank you," said John as he lifted his heel to show off his shoes. "I've borrowed them from Mary, just for tonight obviously." "Obviously, but make the most of it, dear. No other man will get this chance to experience a night like this," Diane encouraged. "You're right. That's how I should take tonight. I am just one of the girls, as if I always am." "That's the spirit," Claire chipped in. She linked arms with John and they headed out. Mary stuck her head in the lounge to let the girls know they were going and to remind them to behave themselves. "What, like you will?" chided Lucy. Now, young lady," laughed Mary. "Don't wait up," called Claire as the moms left. Mary got in the front of the taxi and John got in between the others in the back seat. "Good evening, ladies," said the taxi driver. "Where to?" "Paolo's wine bar, please," said Mary. John groaned inwardly. The wine bar was always full of groups of women and never had any decent beer. Maybe he could choose the next place to go, stop things getting too girly. "I'll get these in, you girls find a table," said John and he headed to the bar. "4 white wines please." "Large ones?" asked the young barmaid. Yeah, go on then. Great, that'll be £14.40, please. John put his handbag on the bar to find his wallet as the barmaid poured the drinks. He unzipped the bag and began to rummage through all the stuff Mary clearly thought he would need. Lipstick, phone, keys, mascara, tissues, and God knows what else. No wallet though. He was sure Mary had said it was in here. He was about to shout across the bar to her when he saw a large pink purse. He pulled it out and unclasped it to reveal the contents of his wallet had been transferred into it. Mary has thought of everything. John laughed to himself. He handed the barmaid a £20 note, put his change in his purse and put it back in his bag. He then carefully carried the tray of drinks over to the table the girls had found, not spilling a drop, even in his heels. Cheers, said Mary once John was settled with them at the table. Cheers, the others called in unison. John sipped his wine. That's nice. It is, echoed Diane, an excellent vintage. So how is work for everyone at the moment? John asked, not sure how else to get the conversation going on a girls' night. He was relieved when the others were more than happy to talk about it. And boy did they talk. John did his best to join in the chat over 2 glasses of wine but found it difficult. The others were so used to each other's company they knew how and when to talk over each other or talk up the conversational slack. But he was enjoying himself. He got out so rarely these days and he was comfortable in his friend's company. As they chatted, her glanced around the bar. As he predicted, it was mostly women with just a few guys, most of whom were clearly with their partners. Mary spotted John looking around. See anything you like? She teased. That girl at the bar, John replied. I love her outfit, but I don't think I could manage heels that high just yet. The girl was wearing a blue and white striped strapless jumpsuit with a pair of blue heels which had to be at least 5 inches tall. The others all laughed. That's not quite what I meant, said Mary, but it is a cute jumpsuit. Not very practical on a night out though, chipped in Diane. What do you mean? Asked John, ignoring the embarrassment he should be feeling about misunderstanding Mary's question about if he saw anyone he liked the look of. Not an outfit he liked. A jumpsuit is a nightmare when you have to pee, laughed Claire. You have to practically strip naked to go. Oh dear, that does sound impractically, agreed John. But sometimes practical considerations take a back seat to looking good, admitted Mary, something us girls have to put up with, I'm afraid. I'm getting the feeling it's hard work being a woman, said John. Maybe, but it can be great fun too, said Claire. Where to next then, ladies? How about the 9s, offered Mary. Sounds good, said John, but I need the loo before we go. I'll come with you, said Diane. We'll meet you 2 outside. Okay, said John, a little unsure. It's fine, reassured Diane. It's normal for us girls to go to the bathroom together. Come on. So John and Diane headed to the ladies' room while Mary and Claire headed out. When they got in there was only 1 cubicle available. You go first, doll, I'll wait, said Diane, so John did as he was told. He locked the cubicle door, hung his bag on the back of the door and took a deep breath. When he used the bathroom this morning he had been unaware of the changes to his body, so this would be another new experience. He unbuttoned and unzipped his jeans, lowered them and his panties. My panties. How strange does that sound, he thought, and sat down, getting a shock at the cold plastic of the seat on his new sensitive skin. He relaxed his bladder muscles and felt himself start to urinate. It sounded much different to as a guy, he noticed, assuming it was because he was now closer to the bowl. Once done, he instinctively grabbed some loo roll and wiped his vagina, a little surprised that it did not give him the sexual sensations he had gotten when exploring the body this morning. This was a purely functional task. He redressed and stepped back into the main bathroom. Diane was still in the cubicle, so he went to wash his hands. His friend joined him as he was drying his hands. Everything okay? She whispered to John. Yes, all good. A bit weird being in here, much nicer than the gents, but all good, John replied. That's great. Let me just check my hair. Diane moved back to the mirror and primed her hair a little, pulling a little brush from her bag to tidy herself up. John felt idle standing waiting for her, so popped his bag opened and pulled out his lipstick. Diane grinned as she watched John in the mirror, expertly reapplying his lip pie. "Come on," he said, "let's catch up with the others." Chapter 11. The Nines was much larger than the last bar, and much busier. There was a much broader mix of ages of customer and a more even split of men and women. The group had found a tall table to stand at, and Mary had come back from the bar with 4 brightly colored cocktails. John took a sip through the long straw. "What is this?" he asked, not used to anything other than a pint of beer. "Sex on the beach," Mary giggled, preempting her formerly male friend's embarrassment. "It's good," John said, oblivious to Mary's grin. "Oh, it is, darling," laughed Claire, "but the sand gets everywhere." This comment set the girls laughing. Even John joined in, but he had not had the experience to know exactly what was meant. He wished he had, a thought which sent a warm tingle through his body. Diane noticed his cheeks blush. "What are you thinking about, Joan?" she asked teasingly. "Sex on the beach." John felt happy to confess. This caused another round of raucous laughter. "You bad girl," snorted Claire, in between laughs. "Who with?" Mary provoked. "No one in particular," John stuttered, growing embarrassed again. "What about him?" Mary was in full-on teasing mode now and inclined her head at a guy stood alone at the end of the bar. The 3 other ladies, including John, turned to look at him. He was about 25, tall and athletic-looking, wearing jeans and a tight white t-shirt which was showing off his abs and biceps as he drank his pint. "Oh, he's cute," said Claire. "A bit young," said Diane. "Who cares? I bet he'd love a MILF like us," joked Claire. "What do you think, Joan?" asked Mary, who noticed John was still eyeing the guy up. John felt his face must be as red as the sun. "I guess he's kinda cute," he whispered. "What's that? I didn't hear you," Mary pressed, to a slightly reproachful look from Diane. "I said he's cute," John said, suddenly not caring about sharing this opinion. After all, he was. He looked a lot better than John ever had. He had to admire the effort this guy clearly put in at the gym. Mary couldn't contain herself. "So what do you like about him?" Claire and Diane were all ears now, sipping their drinks but practically staring at John. "I don't know, I suppose I like his body. He looks so solid. He clearly works out," John admitted. I bet you'd feel safe wrapped in those arms," said Claire, as all the girls were getting in on the act now. "And look at those tight jeans," indicated Diane. "A cute butt, and that bulge looks decent at the front." The girls giggled again as John dropped his eyes to where Diane had mentioned. "Why don't you go and ask him to dance with you?" said Mary. John snapped himself back to reality. "No way. I couldn't do that with a guy. Plus I can't dance at all. Can we move somewhere else, please?" John just wanted to get away from this awkward situation now. "Okay, sweetie, sorry we were making you uncomfortable," said Mary apologetically. "That's fine, I know you were just doing what you normally do on these mom's nights, but I'm still new to this, remember? I'm still John inside." "You're right," said Claire, finishing her drink. "Come on then, let's have another drink in Manhattan's then home." "Sound like a plan?" They all agreed and headed back off into the night. Chapter 12. Look at the queue, we'll be out here ages, moaned John as the group took their place at the back of the line. "Don't worry, it won't be that long," said Diane, "it's mostly guys in the queue." "What's that got to do with anything?" John puzzled. "Just wait and see," Diane said. Just about 10 minutes later, when they had moved up the queue a little, one of the bouncers approached their little group. He held the rope containing the queue up and ushered them under and to the entrance to the club. "Right this way, ladies." John followed the others, not sure what was happening. They made their way inside, paid the cover charge and entered a noisy, dark, busy club. "What just happened?" John shouted in Mary's ear, over the sound of the music. "Female privilege," she yelled back. "The club don't want it full of men." John marveled at this revelation but couldn't be disappointed as they were in. Claire got them all a vodka tonic and they found a space at the edge of the dance floor. John was enjoying the music and watching the, mostly younger, crowd dancing away. There was lots of close contact going on and what John would have considered risque dance moves. Most of the girls were showing a fair amount of flesh, but John found himself admiring what they were wearing more than the girls themselves. He supposed it was just a further side effect of the spell, changing his mind for a day as well as his body. His reverie was broken by Claire grabbing his hand and dragging him onto the dance floor. "Come on, girls. I'm not going home without a boogie," she called back to Diane and Mary. John found himself forming a circle with his friends, with their handbags on the floor in the middle of them. John awkwardly swayed to the popular music, concentrating on not moving too much and risking breaking an ankle in his heels. He was also feeling the effects of the alcohol hitting him now. This body couldn't take as much as his male form. His friends were moving much more freely and John was a little surprised at how sexy some of their dancing was. He had not seen them like this before. The music changed to a song John knew, "Shake It Off." John was singing along and was suddenly moving much more comfortably in his heels. The girls were cheering as he shook his hips and wiggled his ass, close to what the youngsters would call twerking. Claire playfully slapped his ass and encouraged him along. John broke out in a big grin and continued to boogie. The mom's moves had attracted the attention of a group of guys at the edge of the floor and they got up their courage to come and dance near the friends. John noticed that the others were pleased with the attention and had seemingly invited them into their dance circle. Diane in particular was getting handsy with one young man. Another had made his way behind John and was dancing close to him. John pressed his ass back and the man was encouraged and took hold of John's hip and began to sway them both in time to the music. John was surprised at how small he felt compared to his suitor but felt secure. After a while John felt something else. He felt something growing firm against his ass. "Oh my God," he thought, "is that what I think it is? Have I done this to this guy?" He ground his ass firmer to confirm his suspicions. He could not believe how big it felt pressed up against his tight jeans. His own body was reacting too. His knees were growing weak. He felt warm all over and he had a growing damp feeling in his panties. That was new but also delicious. Mary had noticed John and his bow and motioned to the others. The girls rather hurriedly intervened and told John it was time to go home. John apologized to his new friend as the girls gathered their bags and dragged him back outside to find a taxi. "What did you do that for?" John fumed as Diane hailed a taxi. "Why do you think?" Claire said, trying to remain calm. "You were getting a bit carried away in there." "So what? I was enjoying his company." "Company?" Claire scoffed. "You were practically dry humping him." "Whatever," responded John. "I'm just a single mom letting off steam." This statement caused all three ladies to widen their eyes. Silence ensued and Diane took the opportunity to usher everybody into the waiting cab. John was in the back next to Claire. "I'm sorry, Joan," she said to John in a low voice. "I know we were supposed to be helping you have a good time and I'm delighted it was working. But you are still John inside, and will be again in a few ideas. I didn't want you doing something he would regret." John gave his friend a hug. "I know and I am grateful. I guess I was just carried away with this strange experience. It did feel good though. Trust me, I know that feeling, babe, and it is wonderful. You will always have that to remember this night. Bye." "Yes. Yes, I will." Chapter 13. Mary accompanied John to his front door while the taxi waited. Claire and Diane had already been dropped off. John gave Mary a big hug. "Thank you." "For what?" asked Mary. "For a wonderful night. I know this wasn't what you intended, but I really have had a fabulous night. I definitely think John will come out with you more often." "That's great news. I'm glad you are more confident with us now." "Me too." John found his keys and opened the door. "I'll wash these clothes and get them back to you. You know what, you keep them. Call them a souvenir of Joan's night out." John laughed. "All right then. Good night." "Good night." Once the door was closed, Mary walked back to the taxi. "Please let him forgive me," she said to no one in particular, remembering the error she had made in the spell. Once in his bedroom, John stripped off and carefully folded his clothes. He would have to hide them from Susie tomorrow or there would be some awkward questions to answer. He instinctively retrieved some wet wipes from the handbag and removed his makeup. He wouldn't want to sleep in that. He lay in bed naked and tried to make sense of the evening. He really had enjoyed himself as one of the moms. Maybe he could convince Mary to change him into Joan occasionally to recreate this evening. He drifted off with a smile on his face as he remembered dancing with the guy in the club. What would it be like to kiss a guy? He wondered as sleep took him. Chapter 14. Beep 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 beep. John half woke and reached out a slender hand, with red nail varnish on each finger, to turn his alarm off.